Hey, this video is about voting November 2020. I've gathered my thoughts in an attempt to be helpful. I think that those who know and respect me will appreciate it even if you do not agree. I'm not sure I will change any minds, but I hope to push those that trust me over the edge with their voting decisions. In 2016, some of you may remember that I produced a series of videos where I articulated my top 5 voting considerations. It was at the time a fairly lone voice, and I took a lot of heat for those videos. I will now look back on those 5 reasons critically, and I'll tell you why I think I completely missed it. So in 2016, my top 5 issues to consider when voting in order of precedence were: number 1, Supreme Court justice appointments. The Supreme Court interprets decisions in terms of their constitutionality. Looking forward from 2016, it was clear that there were a number of seats that would potentially open. The number of seats that would be potentially opened was unprecedented. I was suggesting that there would be 2 to 4. Number 2 was national security. Outside threats and internal threats are the responsibility of the federal government, and that's their primary role. The primary role of the federal government is to protect us from outside threats and from internal threats. Number 3 on the list was healthcare. We must start to look at the real data in regards to our health rather than the small role that disease care has on our health. And Junior's being noisy. One of the big reasons why healthcare landed on this list at all was because of its effect on the economy, both economically, but also with our overall health and our ability to be contributing Americans. If you look around the world, one of the things that is measured to try to determine a country's potential for their future is the age and health of their population. So number 4 on the list is the economy. Capitalism has lifted the world and this nation. And coming in 5th on the list, in really a much lower category than the other 4, but still absolutely vital and important, is immigration reform. We need a comprehensive immigration plan and a method to ensure the executive branch will abide by it. We must deal with the needs of the country and solve what I call modern-day slavery. Okay, let's look at these more closely, and then I'll talk about why I totally missed the mark, even though these points are fully valid. So the first one, Supreme Court justices. Very soon after the confirmation or the election for the current administration, Neil Gorsuch was appointed to the court. Next was Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett is in the confirmation process now as a result of the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's also notable that Stephen Breyer, who is the oldest member of the Supreme Court, is now well into his 80s. So how did we do? I would give us an A+. Assuming the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett will give the Supreme Court a 6-3 bent towards the Constitution as it was framed, which is great for America and good for the world. So on a more current topic, I want to ask if you know what court packing is and why it's in the news so much now. It is a method of essentially the expansion of the Supreme Court to add additional members beyond the 9 that are required currently. And the reason that it is looked upon so negatively is that any such action would be done during an administration that controls likely the White House and the Senate, and that those additions to the Supreme Court would most likely all be from have a bent towards one party, which is why it is looked upon so negatively. There are methods to increase the numbers in terms of justices on the Supreme Court without it being a negative or without it being considered court packing, but that would be a long-term change that would have to be implemented. What has happened over this last 4 years with the confirmation, likely within the next week, with Barrett's confirmation adding 3 or replacements to the court is not at all court packing in terms of what it is defined at. There has been a lot of argument back and forth because when Obama's last year in office, he did appoint someone, but at that time the American people had not given control of the Senate to the Democrats, which they had to the White House. And so when there was a mismatch like that, it is more common that that appointment is not confirmed in the final year of the term versus confirmed. It's obvious to see how that would be a hot topic and a hot issue, but the reality is that it was precedence, and it still is precedence versus what's going on. So, question: is it clear why the Supreme Court is number one on my list? Wise athletes in nearly every sport don't worry too much about one game or the outcome of one race. They are focused on the national championship. The Supreme Court, with conservative constitutionalist leaning, is for sure the national championship. There is nothing more important, especially in an election period when there is likely going to be a number of Supreme Court picks, which was another reason why it supported itself in terms of being my number one priority at 2016. Okay, number 2 is national security. The federal government must take a stand and uphold the responsibility to protect the Union from outside threats. Iran, North Korea, and China come to mind. America put our enemies on the heels under this administration's leadership. We know that the threats, who knows what threats were averted because of the demonstration of strength. The world is better when America is strong. America is engaged in no new wars since the demolition party left the White House. Question: do you know how peace works in the world under American rule? When America is strong, the world is protected. We invest, give, bribe, buy, allegiance, and alliances. It's true, money talks. The same rules of how we handle money, how bribery, for example, is used internally within the country is radically different than how it's used with international diplomacy. America commonly will invest, buy, help other nations throughout the world in exchange for their allegiance and their alliance and their information and potentially use of some of their land for military bases and different things like that. It is very much the way it works. America being strong from a capitalistic standpoint gives us the financial ability to do those sorts of things throughout the world. The key to remember is that America is not just strong, it also uses that strength consistently in a positive way throughout the world. Excuse me. Okay, how have we done in terms of national security? Let's start with international. I would say we have an A. There's been a lot of positive results internationally, no new wars, a lot of positive movements, great relationship with Israel. Internally, I'd say we failed. I'd give us a C-. Many of our local leaders failed to provide the security that is promised through the social compact. When that is broken, our entire system of justice crumbles. I predict that we will hear from the DOJ in a big way, condemning and potentially even holding local leaders and governors responsible for the cost, even deaths, of their poor leadership recently. So what is a social compact? Have you ever heard of that? It essentially is an agreement that we each loosely comply with as American citizens to the social compact, which means that we agree to submit to the authority of the government and to cooperate with each other for social benefit. What does it mean to submit to the authority of the government? Well, a simple way of looking at it is the federal government is tasked with our security both externally and internally. We enjoy the benefit of that on a daily basis. The freedom and the liberty that comes with that is afforded by that. But at the same time, we also commit to and submit to the fact that we cannot be one of the problems externally or internally. So that's a social compact. Okay, number 3, healthcare. Healthcare is really just disease care. If you want to look at healthcare insurance, it is disease care. We must start to work on prevention in real ways. Mental illness is upon us in a big way, and I see no plan in front of me to deal with it. The CCP virus is upon us. It is not nearly as lethal as the US media would have you believe. However, where the CCP virus is lethal is in fear. The media has pumped this thing up to the point where the fear is exploding out of people, and it doesn't matter whether the disease is actually as lethal as they say it is, which it is not. It is the fear that is gripping everyone. So how have we done? Healthcare, I'd give us an F. We still see healthcare, and this is not just because of the virus. This is because we still see healthcare as a solution rather than a Band-Aid. Taking a pill, some modality, those kinds of things to try to fix the daily choices that we make and have made for many years along the way is not a good solution. We do not yet own our health individually. Drives me nuts because someone will always jump to the examples where that doesn't work instead of the 98% where it does. I realize that there are exceptions and that there are people who definitely do need disease care. They need help. They need true health care. And there is a very small percentage of our society that does need that. But for the most part, most of us can take ownership of our own health, and we should. We're still fighting about the ACA, which is a distraction from the real solution. It was never a good solution. It at best was a partisan shining star. I will share a link for a true health care, not just disease care plan that I developed that would make America the healthiest country in the world if it was followed. This is important because the media would not necessarily, wouldn't have been as successful in spinning up the fear around the CCP virus had we been armed with our own strength of health that is available to each of us. I've written books about it. Okay, number 4 is the economy. We need to support the longstanding and functional American capitalistic system for reasons stated. Even with the CCP virus overreaction, the financial devastation that came with it, the economy is thriving, and short of some manufactured crisis, it will thrive again. How have we done? I would give us a C. I'm discouraged for small businesses in America, but it is still the best path to lift the world by the owners. But the owners took the brunt of the beating with this year. The large companies were generally allowed to operate normally, while small businesses were not. If you think we had it hard, think about those small companies and families and people located throughout the world that rely on orders from America to feed their families and to survive. They are struggling just as bad as some of the worst of the businesses in America were hit. When America is strong financially, the world wins. Okay, last on the list. Number 5, immigration reform. We need a comprehensive plan that will be followed by the executive branch. We must deal with the needs of the country and solve modern-day slavery. I did a separate video on the topic of modern-day slavery, which we have intended. I'm sorry. I did a separate video on modern-day slavery, and basically we invented modern-day slavery because we have not improved our immigration system. How have we done? Immigration reform. I would give us a solid F. This landed last among those that made my top 5, but it is vital long-term. I am disappointed that we didn't make progress. I placed the weight of responsibility on Paul Ryan, and I believe he would act if he could go back in time. We had the opportunity to enact a comprehensive immigration reform plan from 2016 to 2018, but we didn't do it. Our economy will suffer as will those throughout the world as a result of labor shortages in the U.S. that will only get worse in the coming years if we don't fix this. The U.S. economy will cavitate without the labor force we need from immigration. The U.S. also benefits by legally allowing individuals that are both smart and wealthy into America. Okay, predictions for the future. But before I do that, let me now pivot a bit and talk about how I was utterly wrong in 2016. I really thought it was about these issues. I suppose I'm a bit old-fashioned and even slow to the punch. I didn't realize it was about something altogether different, something with a much bigger stake. I was totally wrong to think that it was about issues. Sure, these issues are important, but it was never about them for some Americans. anti-Americans. Being American has less to do with whether you are born and more to do with, Being American has less to do with where you are born and more to do with the way you look at life and society. I would rather be surrounded by people with the heart of America than those that have a passport that looks like mine. Being America means that my idea is accepted and acceptable even if you don't agree. Being America means that we are not compelled to apologize for making money, but we are also wisely shouldered with the responsibility of donating at our will to support causes and others that we believe in and love. Being American means that we will be strong, and they will always use that strength to defend others and those that align with us. Being America means that we have an open door policy, but if you want to stay for more than a meeting, you need to jump through some hoops to show us that you are here to be an American, not to bring your hosed up policies to try to mess up or change what it means to be American. Being American means that we love our sports and our movies, but we also do not want to mix those up with our policies in any way, ever. Understand? We have a lot of respect for athletes and love for actors, but athletes tend to be young, and although you've worked hard, you've had a narrow focus, so you lack the knowledge that is needed to be great leaders. Don't get me wrong. You're well on your way. As for actors, we are living the lives that you portray in your studios, so don't think for a moment that we really want to hear your political views from the big stage that you earn by pretending to be one of us. Being America means that we are innovative risk takers. Being America means that we accept our responsibility to uphold the social compact. Being America means that we take care of each other. We unify as tightly as needed when it is needed. We take care of our elderly, our poor, our hurting, and our displaced. Being America means that if we call ourselves a journalist, we do the research. We have the class and honor to tell the story and not our opinion. When, as a journalist, we venture into the opinion space, we make that very clear and we make use of that space sparingly. Being America means that we honor those that fight for hospitals, that fight for us in the hospitals, in churches, on battlefields and battleships, on the streets and the clinics and fire stations. We honor those that fight for us. Being America means that we vote for people into positions of authority that are going to fight for America, not some anti-American religion or anything else. Being America means that we will understand and accept and follow the Constitution, including the methods established for ratification within the framework of our government system that is grossly overweight and slow-moving, but even with its flaws lies some protections that we need to not allow radical change to happen too quickly. Being American means that we love and submit to our God, who is a big and often not something that we can fully understand, but we trust him regardless. We also accept that not everyone else will agree in our big version of God, but that too is okay, provided they don't try to take from our ability to believe in our big and wonderful God. The issue that I should have spoken about in 2016 is an ideological one. We have a group of people in this nation that do not believe in God. They do not believe in being strong allows us to lead with integrity. They do not believe that working hard and achieving success is something we should strive to do. They do not believe that protecting peace throughout the world also protects us at home. They do not believe that tyrants, murderers, and terrorist thugs, they do not believe that negotiating with tyrants, murderers, and terrorist thugs is a good plan to get to stability. That taking and accepting bribes and filthy handling of big money is somehow acceptable. Prior to 2016 election, I never knew the depth of the corruption in this country. I'm sick to think about what a greeting member of a small nation must feel like when hosting us. Imagine what those meetings are like. An important person, some sort of delegation comes from the United States. Maybe there's a capital project on the plate or leasing of some land or some kind of a grant or donation to that country. And one of the members, probably the leading member of the delegation that's coming, is either going to be on one of two sides of the fence, and the people sitting there waiting for that plane to land and for that person to come off doesn't know which one they're going to land, which one they're going to get. Are they going to get the person of integrity who's simply interested in looking out for American benefit and to assist in whatever way they can with what this country needs? Or are they going to be primarily focused on themselves first and looking at the money that that is coming from America that they're tasked with delivering, and demanding certain things from that small country as a result? For example, let's say that there is a company within that small country that is required to get a portion of that grant or of that money, which, by the way, maybe a family member of that person or that delegation is represented on that board of that company. All the while, everybody in the room knows that a portion of that money is simply getting funneled back to the person that is sitting there in front of them or to their family. It's disgusting. I had no idea how corrupt this country was until 2016. I would like to see the audited financials for the Clinton Foundation and their unique strategy for capitalizing on national and international donations to support their cause. I'd like to know who the countries are that bought their way into favor with the previous president and the previous Secretary of State. I'm anxious to learn more about the corruption that was led by Obama in the actual meddling of the U.S. election leading up to the 2016 election. None of this stuff is a question mark anymore. It's all clear and known. The question is how much of it will become known to you and I. I can see clearly now, but unlike Jimmy Cliff, the rain is not gone and I do not see unlimited blue sky. I see and feel the threat. And I am more aware and armed as a result. I like the America I knew, but I'm prepared for what I now see as reality. If you do not see the reason for the strong and rightly oriented, if you do not see the reason to be strong and rightly oriented, then you need to engage and begin to think critically about what you see happening around you and how it is affecting your life now and what that looks like in the future. When I was a kid, I remember seeing bombed out buses from the Middle East. I never thought that sort of horror would be allowed in America, but that is where the demolition party wants to take us. With that said, I went back through my list of topics one more time, and I could not justify changing the priority of any of them, nor replacing any of them with any other items that fell out of my original top 5. While I agree that I missed the big picture of this being an ideological fight, which it still is, I did not miss the key issues at hand. A healthy Supreme Court continues to be the thing that protects and preserves this nation for my kids, my grandkids, and beyond, while also being an integral help for much of the people of the world. Our national security, both internally and externally, are vital to our way of life in every way. The primary role of the federal government is national security, both internally and externally. Healthcare is the one that is on shaky ground with its position and priority list, but I kept it there because it represents a tremendous risk to us, our financial standing, and the threat it poses to our way of life. The economy is vital, and without it, we topple and are overrun by any manner of crazy ideas floating around the world. We need money to rule, and rightly rule we have for centuries. Without our health, we cannot rightly rule, and we cannot rule in a healthy way without the financial ability. So you can see how there is tension here between the healthcare and the economy being third and fourth. Immigration is steps lower than the other 4, but it's still on top of all the other things that I could have included in the top 5. In order for manufacturing, the service industry, and agriculture to thrive in the U.S. moving forward, we need to revamp our legal immigration system. Okay, what do I hope for? Back to our list again. Number 1, Supreme Court justice appointments. I predict that the president will appoint one more Supreme Court justice in his second term. This could put the Supreme Court at a 7-2 conservative constitutionalist favor, which is great for my kids, my grandkids, and the rest of the world. National security. I believe China is a threat moving forward. They will be aggressive in stealing existing European relationships and in directly hurting America, because strong leadership in America means they'll be held accountable for at least some of their inhumane policies. I do not believe war is ahead for the U.S. and China, but I do believe trade war is going to ensue with even more vigor. Note that China recently announced a completely bogus 2060 green initiative where they're saying they'll be carbon neutral, yet they don't pretend or even announce to go over the top in terms of their max carbon use until 2030. So they're, as of 2030, then they're going to start the slope to 2060. I think it's all a lie. Their Belt and Road project is also, trying to take advantage of the European relationships. The demise of much of Europe to a radical movement because of their loose immigration laws for so many years. That combined with a very young, kind of a green, sympathized population in much of Europe allows China to just get a little foothold in Europe. And I believe over the next 10 or 20 years, the US will see damage in their relationships in Europe as a result of what's going on now, and specifically the moves that China is making. Let's see, manufacturing is the greatest opportunity ahead in America as a result of these changes. Companies will also use Vietnam and likely countries in Africa over the next couple of decades to provide. We can get labor, and manufacturing will come back with vengeance in America. And it will be effective manufacturing and efficient manufacturing like we've never seen before, because that is what we do in America. We make things great. We have had an international security problem since the start of the United States. At present, we have a national security problem. What I mean is that we are going to need some focus some efforts on unifying the nation internally. The left will be forced to eat humble pie if the Constitution wins in the House, the Senate, and the White House again, and that may well be the only option, but I feel that with the level of unrest that has been demonstrated recently and the fanning of the flames by the shocking number of leftists, including much of the media, we are going to see short-term mayhem when Trump is reelected. That said, I also feel the DOJ will step in and hold state and local leaderships accountable to the social compact and their responsibilities for their position of authority. This will likely be a messy and deadly process, but could feel like a mild civil war. Okay, that's it for national security. Healthcare, next on the list. We really do have a big problem with our healthcare and the issue of paying for unhealthy habits. We need to focus on our health individually and stop blaming it on others. Disease care should be seen as a solution for those that are not proactive and for those that have no other options, which there are some, as I've mentioned. This will cost individuals big in the end, as companies and the government will not bankrupt themselves to solve the problem unless the demolition party is in leadership. So what I mean by that is there isn't going to be a healthcare solution that is going to magically heal you or to make you healthy. It is never going to happen, and it is a farce. And wise leaders will not even try. They will push you towards owning your individual health and making healthy decisions to allow you to live a long and healthy life. What I mean by that comment is that the demolition party will attempt to, and they will try to spend their way into it, and most of that money will go towards moving their radical ideology forward rather than actually creating more health, but they'll sell it to you as healthcare. Economy. The Economist remains on as number 4 as this driving factor to keep America in power for good throughout the world. We must revere and protect our economy. Number 5, immigration reform. This will drive the economy. We owe it to humanity to fix it. DACA folks deserve a path to citizenship. We need healthy immigration and a plan that serves the nation and prevents modern-day slavery. So I would say that we are voting for America that we learned about in elementary school. It is the America that was freed by blood in 1776, not to mention all the frozen toes. Not the America that was not even yet conceived in 1619. This is a vote about unity and oneness. On one hand, we have a long-standing belief in acceptance and tolerance and unity and strength that provides and protects for us all and blesses the entire world. On the other hand, we have a group that demands many to not just accept but endorse lifestyles that simply we do not agree with. Long-standing acceptance that allows those of many beliefs and lifestyles practices is simply not enough any longer. Now, this side is demanding that although we may not agree with the belief system or one religion or sexual preference, we are required to not just accept it, but we now must endorse it. What is at play here is an ideology. I thought that we needed to vote based on what and where a president was going to lead us. Instead, it is about if a president is going to side with the Constitution in the current Civil War, or if the president is going to side with an anti-American, anti-God, anti-capitalist, anti-reason, and anti-rational thought methodology. If I have one suggestion that is also frustrating, it would be to get your friends to vote. I believe that the vast majority of Americans believe in a strong and upheld Constitution. I believe that most feel that America should be allowed to live in freedom with the liberties and that have been afforded by the veterans and the political leaders that have gone before us to create this great nation. If all of us were to get up and get out and to vote, the minority of the people that have the wild thoughts about how America should be run, what we should call ourselves, if we should have statues about our history, and what sort of lifestyles we should lead would be overrun by rational thought. Most of us believe that there is a God and that the Constitution is a blessing in and over us, that we should have strong leadership that enables us to continue, not just to be powerful, but to do good with that power throughout the world. Let me give you an interesting example. Riots broke out in Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 23rd, 2020. As a result of a rapist refusing to comply with police demands when he was caught. Within hours, we were able to view images of rioters trashing portions of the city while armed with riot gear, bricks, helmets, and other gear and equipment. The police also arrested people from multiple different states. So how is it that these people were able to get to Kenosha within a few hours of an incident happening and to be fully armed with gear if this movement is not backed by some anti-American deep pockets? Sadly, there are enemies to all that is American. We are not the silent majority. We simply are not the loud, obnoxious, outlandish, and offensive majority. We are not prone to temper tantrums when we do not get our way. We are not silent, and we need to demonstrate all that is American at the polls in November. It is not a stretch to say that our way of life is under siege, and they likely will not stop when they lose this election. So on one hand, I have a man that believes in America is great, and on the other hand, we have a man that is clearly not operating with his full faculties, who is bending wildly under the weight of the influences from outright anti-American people and organizations. So you may not like Trump. I would agree that there are things that he says and does that make me roll my eyes at times. When I look at the circumstances, however, I am overwhelmingly thankful that God has given us President Trump. Please vote for America in November. Thank you.